ACCA is one qualification, 180 countries, and infinite possibilities. If you observe the ACCA passing rates, they have.
Whenever students reach out to me at professional level, I always say get a mentor.
APM taught you to critically think and to take decisions. It empowers you.
Which study material did you use?
I made a very conscious choice after I completed CA not to appear for.
A candidate who's an Indian CA plus an ACCA has a special preference.
If you are an ACCA, you can contribute to one job. But if you're a faculty, you're building a generation of professionals.
So welcome to a super special episode. Today we have with us Avanti, who is a chartered accountant but also a global ranker in ACCA. And today we have one simple agenda. We are going to decode formula behind becoming a successful ACCA. And secondly, if someone wants to build their career in teaching, not corporate, but instead teaching. Today we'll get to know insights into career as a teacher. Now, I know you very well. We have been colleagues as teachers, and I know you from the college days as well. You were my senior. But for our audience, for our viewers,
I have to say, not a very far senior.
yes. But coming to your introduction for our viewers, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Aditya. Hello, everybody. I come from a family of bankers, so playing around numbers comes naturally to me. Dinner table conversations used to be about NPA and about banking operations. So the natural extension was becoming a chartered accountant. I commenced my journey as a CA, completed my CA in 2018. I started off in 2014, then went on to do ACCA affiliate, and in that journey became a world ranker and an all India rank second in APM, which is advanced costing paper of ACCA. I also chose teaching as a professional career after I completed my chartered accountancy, and most of my experience has been in ACCA professional training. I have taught over 10 subjects, and my expertise lies in financial reporting, auditing, performance management, and strategic leadership. I've been fortunate to teach over 1,000 students, and even though the number stands out, what is special for me is all the experience that is gained along the way. So I look forward to this lifelong learning and to continue in this noble profession. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that 1,000+ students have been covered till now. That's quite an amazing feat. But coming to this part where you mentioned you come in from family of bankers, so why did you choose an exam, government exam like SBI PO, or what led you to CA specifically?
I have to be honest with this answer that when I set out with any kind of career choice, we didn't have much knowledge about professional courses like students do today, like ACCA, CFA, CMA, etc. The most accessible and the well-known course was CA, and there was a grit and determination that kuch to bada karna hai. You have to achieve something that everybody says is so difficult. So that is why CA. I have to confess that I didn't have much know-how about it.
Okay.
And even though I'm very comfortable with numbers, I did not like integration and all that. And I remember in a counseling session before CA, we were told that CA does not have any maths. And that was my seal deal. So, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. On the part where integration and derivative is not a favorite topic, I think we are on the same page. Now, I am a CMA certificate holder. ACCA, after reading about it, excites me a lot. So, if you had to pitch that why should I do ACCA, and let's say an elevator pitch, 30-second, 60-second pitch, how would you present it?
Okay, so if I have to give you a line, ACCA is one qualification, 180 countries, and infinite possibilities. That's ACCA for you.
Okay.
ACCA is a global ticket to work anywhere in the world. We have ACCA curriculum, which is very robust, well designed, and very futuristic looking. The exams land in a very application based manner, case study based manner, and are highly student friendly. If you observe the ACCA passing rates, they have consistently very high passing rates, and you can easily jump in and you can understand what are the exemptions that you're going to get. That is one unique feature that ACCA offers, that depending upon your background and your qualification, ACCA respects that you would have some existing knowledge and you can get the benefit of it through the exemptions. So overall, you get expertise in accounts, law, tax, audit, etc. And more than anything, get global knowledge and become industry ready through this course.
One thing I could relate to is ACCA respects your prior qualification. Because when I was reading about ACCA, I got to know a 12th standard pass candidate can start his ACCA journey and graduation is not a requirement.
Absolutely perfect. So anybody can start their ACCA journey. If you are a fresher, you can hop onto the ACCA train. If you're a qualified chartered accountant or a CWA, like I did, then you also can start with the ACCA journey. So depending upon your qualifications, if you're a master's, if you're a bachelor's, if you're a 12th pass, if you possibly have entered the CA course but are stuck somewhere in between, depending on your knowledge, ACCA customizes the exemptions for you and you can start your journey.
Okay, sounds good. And there was one more point that had actually teared me up in terms of a dilemma between USCM and ACCA, because there was one student who was confused and had reached out to me. Me being an CMA certificate holder, I said these are XYZ benefits, but he said, sir, 6 subjects together versus 1 subject at a time. And I said both are doable, but look at your own comfort. But that was one point which does differentiate ACCA as compared to all other programs. That is one thing I observed. Okay, so you started your CA journey. So when you started this journey, rather from a long-term perspective, did you have a view of completing CA, getting into banking or investment banking or audit, taxation or anything like this?
So I get asked this very often. If I get a penny every time somebody asks me this, I will be off in a yacht enjoying my life. So I get asked this very often. Honestly, teaching came very naturally to me.
Okay.
I remember that when I was young, I've been told that I used to roam around in my mother's dupatta pretending to be a teacher. So it was always a part of who I am. I made a very conscious choice after I completed CA not to appear for any placement interviews or ICI campus placements, but directly started applying for teaching roles, right? And I have an incident that, if I may share with you, I had given on a demo for an audit class in Pune, and I had 2 realizations. One is that I definitely have to work on my skills as a teacher, but I had this profound clarity that this is exactly what I don't want to do with my life. So, and I've never looked back. Teaching has been, I think, a right choice for me.
Well, that was an interesting story, but it is quite rare to see this level of clarity at such young age. But I'm glad you had that. Moving to the next chapter, so you completed your CA and you started applying for jobs. How did ACCA come into the picture?
That's a great question. So after I completed my CA, as I mentioned that when I started off, we did not have much knowledge or awareness about international courses or courses that give you global opportunities. I remember that when I was doing internship, a friend of mine introduced me to ACCA, and I was very excited because of the exemptions that ACCA offered, as I said. So anybody who doesn't know about ACCA, there are 13 papers, and if you're a qualified CA, you get 9 exemptions and you have to give 4, the last 4 papers. So I decided to explore this course. Now, when I decided to venture into teaching, ACCA was exploding in India. I started off teaching in 2019, and there were many opportunities opening up for ACCA. Many colleges and institutions were integrating their curriculum and bringing in ACCA. So I thought that it was a good market fit with my skills, my background, and the opportunities that were available, right? I also felt that I will gain more respect in my students' eyes, more credibility if I am myself an ACCA. I think that this decision proved to be right very quickly, because as I started to appear for my own ACCA papers, I realized that the approach of writing an ACCA paper is very different as compared to a CA. Back then, when I completed my CA in 2018, the papers were heavily content driven and more of theory based. But ACCA completely pushes you to solve real business problems and to think like world leaders. So I think that once I cleared my own papers, I bought in the knowledge that CA gave, like accounts, finance, etc. But I also helped my students to maneuver their journey of how to crack ACCA exams. So I think that proved to be a double benefit.
Or on contrary basis, one thing I've observed is students who don't do CA, they've completed the skill level and suddenly they're competing with CS. It becomes an unfair activity or unfair level of challenge. Absolutely. But that is one thing that whenever students reach out to me at professional level, I always say get a mentor.
Right.
Someone who has passed, so he can guide you much better, because the competition and the dynamics are quite different at professional level.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So before we dive in, here's a quick message. I want to share the vision of FinStreet Education, basically what we do. See, we are building India's most industry-oriented ACCA prep program called as the ACCA Plus model. Under this, we have a core learning program where we conduct live interactive classes. We use business case studies to teach concepts. We also have a dedicated student success team who tracks your progress, conduct tests and mock exams. And third, we have 100% placement assistance in place and a placement structure that is inspired by IIM Lucknow's placement model. So if you're someone who's looking forward to build a career as a global accountant, you can consider joining FinStreet Education. And to top it all, by the way, we have an ultimate program in place where we offer more than 10 certifications, a complete ecosystem of learning to become job ready. So if you're someone who wants to pursue ACCA program, you can call on this number or check out our website. See you in class. Please enjoy the video.
Now you started your ACCA journey, or you decided. What was your, let's say, a thought process overall behind selecting subjects? Because the next part is you have two mandatory subjects and you have a bucket of 4 subjects out of which you can choose 2. So how did you pick subjects, or ideally when any student is thinking about picking a subject, what should be the approach?
So professional level, many of the students assuming that they go on from the skill level to the professional level. I'll answer both aspects, if you go on from the skill to the professional level, or if you're somebody like me who has got exemptions and then went to the professional level. If you're going from the skill to the professional level, every professional level has a basic skill level paper backing it, right? So for example, SBR has an FR, APM has PM, ATX has tax, etc. So ATX is advanced taxation, APM is advanced performance management, right? So you get a glimpse of whether you're comfortable with that paper in your skill level, and if you're confident with it, go for it in the professional paper. I have to say that papers like audit or taxation are very intense, and they require you to be thorough with the preparation and your concept clarity. So if you're good at it at the skill level and if you have confidence, then go for it at the professional level. As far as somebody who is directly jumping on to exemptions and going to professional level, you would have come here from some kind of qualification journey, right? So you have a good understanding of whether your theoretical background is strong or your numbers are strong. If you're somebody who is interested in legal laws, regulations, calculations, go for ATX. If you're somebody who likes investigation, understanding the behind the scenes of companies, go for audit. So I would say that depending on your interest and your natural inclination, choose the optional papers. But if you choose one, you have to be really thorough with it because it requires a lot of rigor.
Sounds interesting and intimidating both at the same time.
Yes.
Now let's say you started with your professional subjects. How was your daily routine? Means how did you manage your studies? And just to confirm that you were teaching during that time.
Right.
So you might have an 8-hour, 6-hour shift at least. So along with that, how were you managing your studies?
I will give you a perspective of a paper that I have secured rank in, which is advanced costing. Now, a couple of things. Honestly, I did not set out to be a ranker. It came organically. But if I understand in hindsight, a couple of things that maybe worked for me. First is thorough understanding of the study material. You have to be really clear with your basics. As I mentioned, that ACCA does not encourage you to do any kind of mugging up or rehearsal. So you have to actually understand how to apply these concepts. Let's take the example of just-in-time inventory. Then how do companies exactly use it? We can take the example of Toyota, which is a pioneer in just-in-time. So understand how it is applied for every concept that you study. I did multiple revisions and reiterations of the study material, and I made sure that I was thorough with it. If I explain to you from a teacher's perspective, because once a teacher, always a teacher, I think many students already do this part very well, understanding the concepts and application. But what I think worked for me the most is the second part, which is really practicing the questions. I was thorough with the exam kit. The exam kit has a compilation of all the past papers, right? So some of the questions I visualized, I thought of a chain of thoughts how I would write the answer. And many of them I typed or I wrote, depending on, now we have remote based or computer based. So I did writing practice. I often tell my students that we are lagging the writing practice. It's easy to conceptualize something in your head, but we observe that we cannot translate it to pen and paper. So that was very crucial, and I think that proved to be a differentiator for me. I used to compare that with the model answers, not to be pressurized by it, but understand what are the points I missed out. Okay, so these are a couple of things that I think went on in the right direction. A few other things is that check out the examiner suggestions, examiner feedback that ACCA provides. Once you're thorough with the exam kit and the study material, go on to the test login. ACCA provides a lot of practice sessions, a lot of mock tests. So make sure that you're very comfortable and go through the technical articles. I think ACCA technical articles are all the recent developments in that field. If you put in, let's say, a tariff policy in your next attempt, then that can help your paper really stand out and impress the examiner. And last point is that take the professional marks very seriously.
Okay.
Generally, students do not realize its importance, but that can be a make or break for you to clear your exam.
Okay, that's quite insightful. I think a candidate who's preparing for ACCA will benefit out of it.
Thank you.
But coming to the next part, where you mentioned study material. Now I've observed there are 2 clubs. Now hopefully transition into 3 clubs. But earlier 2 clubs are Kaplan Club and BPP Club. Hopefully ACCA Study Material Hub also gets its own club. But which study material did you use during studies, and what's your experience with both study materials? Being a teacher, I'm sure you might have scanned both study materials.
Okay, so I have to confess, I am a BPP fan.
Okay.
So I've been studying through the BPP throughout for my own studies. My professional experience is that many institutions prefer Kaplan for multiple reasons. So Kaplan is more widely used, at least in our region, as compared to BPP. Uh, if I may say, a differentiator that I have observed is that BPP difficulty level is a bit more as compared to Kaplan. On the other hand, BPP language is a bit more complex as compared to Kaplan. So a simple suggestion that I would say is that take up a chapter. There are online free material that you can access. Take up a chapter, read through both Kaplan and BPP. Whichever you find comfortable, go on. But make sure that exam kit is done for both BPP as well as Kaplan, because that will give you best practice and cover all the possible questions.
Oh, that's an amazing advice. I wish, even I had that facility of availing multiple publications for my CMA students.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
So for CMA, you have one publication, or?
yes, CMA usually one instructor sticks to one publication, and there are certain pros and cons of each publication, but whichever we find to be the best, it's something that we are using currently.
Wonderful. Wow.
Coming to next part of your, let's say, routine, whenever you are studying, is there any process that you followed, that you have to read a chapter first, go to a specific question? How frequently did you give your tests? How many mock exams did you sit for before the exam?
So I may sound studious when I answer this, but I think consistency really matters in this. I was working, as you mentioned, and I had appeared for APM as well as AAA, that is audit, for the September attempt together.
Together.
Yes. So I broke down. I had a target of about 150 200 hours for one subject, which is APM, and I broke it down into daily routine, that is 1 hour or 2 hours, depending upon how you're placed. So I think consistency is very important. As you mentioned earlier, that you get intimidated or overwhelmed when you understand the quantum of the studies, but if you break it down into small chunks, you are more in control and you feel more comfortable with your textbook and your paper as compared to just quickly summing it up before the exam. So I think that is one aspect. As far as actual studies are concerned, as I mentioned, that I used to take up a chapter, understand the illustrations. BPP and Kaplan both offer very simple illustrations. So understand the illustrations case studies, go to the exam kit, solve all the relevant questions of the exam kit related to that, and also check out any kind of videos, technical articles, or any kind of general developments in that subject when you study a particular concept. As I mentioned just in time, so the same logic applies for other concepts as well, right? Another thing is that once you're thorough with the study material, go back to the exam kit and solve it. I myself observed that my approach of writing answers was very different when I completed all the chapters and went to the same question in the exam kit. I have to confess that one of the earlier mocks that I did, I had a question on ROC, return on capital employed. And I was amazed at the fact that I was not able to write it despite knowing the concept very well. So it's very important to put it on paper, as I've mentioned before. Once you're done with it, go on to the test login. There are about 5 or 6 practice questions that I did, and I think there are 2 mocks that they give for free. So go through it thoroughly, reach a mentor or an examiner, get your papers evaluated. I think that will help you a lot to remove your delulu and
Okay.
get a reality check. So I think that was the preparation part.
If I'm not wrong to say that this is the formula to become a world ranker in ACCA, or comparing to other subjects, was there any additional effort you took for APM that helped you get this rank?
Well, I think APM, as the nature of the subject, helped me a lot. Both SBL and APM I found very fascinating. I remember in my SBL question paper, there was a question about supply chain logistics of importing coffee beans from Africa. You immediately get transported there. You start to visualize it. So as a nature in itself, APM taught you to critically think and to take decisions. It empowers you. So I think the subject was very interesting to study in itself. And also, once you read I always tell my students that once you read a question paper, the exhibit itself tells you the answer. The question itself tells you the answer. So I had a habit of highlighting the important parts in the question and then weaving my answer around it. I think this is a aspect which differentiated me and helped me get a rank, because SBR has all solving and numericals. But because of that storytelling aspect, I think APM helped me to secure a rank.
So if someone is aspiring just not ACCA, but a world ranker as an ACCA, this is your formula. Now, before going ahead, let's have an interesting round of rapid fire answers. Here I want to break down some myths or misconceptions around ACCA program. So the first question is, ACCA can be done by those who are good in mathematics.
So you see, you have to be good with numbers. There are subjects like financial management who requires you to be a lot of analytical skills, use a lot of analytical skills. So that is required, but traditional mathematics is not required.
Okay. Or to break down, mathematics up to 10th standard is also fine, where we have simple interest, compound interest, just converting into compounding and discounting.
Absolutely.
So good with basic fundamentals of mathematics, good enough.
Perfect.
Next is, as compared to CA, ACCA is less difficult, and some say ACCA is even more difficult.
I get this asked very often. I think that the approach of doing a chartered accountancy and an ACCA is very different. I'll give you some simple similarities and some differences. A similarity is that, moreover, the subject nature is similar. You have accounts, tax, finance, law, etc. And ACCA also aims to be professionals who have expertise in their fields. So that is the objective, and a broad vision is the same for both courses. The way the exams are conducted is very different. As we know that ACCA conducts its exams either when you are ready, that is on demand, or on a quarterly basis. As compared to that, now CA has opened up and taken up more attempts. But when I started off, we only had 2 attempts, right? A year. Second important thing is that when you give CA, you have to typically give 3 or 4 papers a group, and you also have a concept like group clearance, right? So even if you clear the individual papers, it need not guarantee that you're passing that attempt. ACCA has a unique manner that it allows you to give 1 paper at a time. So only when you're ready with your preparation can you go ahead with the exam. Also, if we compare the overall passing rates, as I mentioned, that ACCA has a very student friendly and a lucid manner of taking their exams. So we have observed that the global rates are better off, or they are more promising in ACCA as compared to CA.
So that's a perspective that might help a lot of candidates who have just passed 12th and have a dilemma of CA versus ACCA. Okay, coming to next part. One is, after becoming an ACCA, given that it is recognized in more than 180 countries, you can just fly off to some other country and start working. Is that true?
That's a myth. ACCA definitely is your global passport, and it works in more than 180 countries. But definitely you have to see if you are a market and job fit for the company, and you have to apply for the right companies, gain the extra certifications or skills that that company requires, all the visa requirements, and then you can definitely apply for global jobs. So it does not guarantee you a job abroad immediately once you become a ACCA.
And last myth, ACCAs can only work in UK or Europe and they can't be placed in India.
Yes, that's definitely a myth. We have many companies in India who are actively looking for ACCAs. A friend of mine is working in KPMG, and Big Fours as well as investment banks, MNCs are actively looking for ACCAs. There are multiple reasons for it. First of all, ACCA brings in global expertise, IFRS, laws, regulations, taxation, which help you to achieve global understanding, not just limited to a region or a country. So ACCA definitely has a lot of job applicability in India. If I see the traditional license to practice, we do not have that in India, because only a CA can do a practice in India. Along with UK or Europe, I think many Asian countries are huge on ACCA. If you see the Singapore, Malaysian markets, or even the Middle Eastern countries like Dubai, we have a lot of ACCAs booming there and a lot of job opportunities opening up, because ultimately many of them have to comply to UK markets or European stock exchanges for the listing. So definitely ACCA is a plus for you.
And just adding on to this, so one of my school friends moved to Netherlands. I met him during my student exchange over there. So he mentioned one unique thing that I just simply asked that, if I want to, let's say, work in your team, what kind of qualification should I have? So he mentioned that a candidate who's an Indian CA plus an ACCA has a special preference because their company is planning to expand into India.
Absolutely.
So they were looking for someone who knows the UK regulation or compliance part plus the Indian one.
Indian one, absolutely.
So that's a unique place to, or a sweet spot to target. And I can't resist myself but to ask one question. Is ACCA too expensive? Because some time back when I was reading about the course, I went through all the fees. So as per your opinion, what do you think about this?
So when I decided to appear for my exams, professional exams, and I checked out the exam fees, I immediately started converting. So yes, a first impression does appear so that ACCA is very costly. But I believe that once you do your overall analysis of 5 years, the cost spreads out. So definitely ACCA requires you to pay upfront heavy fees, but definitely as you understand over the 5 year course, it evens out as compared to other professional courses.
Now coming to my favorite part of the podcast, that is career as a teacher. So let's say there's a candidate who completed ACCA or any other professional certification for that matter, wants to become a teacher, aspires to be a teacher. what should be a day zero plan or first step towards becoming a teacher?
That's a great question. So I think that first is that we have to understand why we want to venture into this field. That is very important. Sometimes we perceive that it is an easy field or a lesser stressful field, but that is not true. A teaching profession requires a lot out of you, and most importantly, a lot of patience. So I would like to suggest you that figure out first if you want to go into public aspects of teaching like colleges, institutions, universities, etc., or you want to venture into private aspects like coaching, training, academies, etc. So if the first route is a right fit for you, then you have to go through a master's, NET or SET, which are primary teaching qualification exams, and then possibly a PhD. That will help you secure your position. But if you're working in a private, then the ball game is a bit different. First of all, that you have to have a consistent and very successful passing rate because your KPIs are going to be measured every year based on how much you deliver. So it's extremely important to be hands on with your teaching and to be the best in your field. I also think that it's a continuous journey. We have to be very active with our students and very well versed with our students, no matter what the count is. So, regularly being in touch with them, making sure that whatever difficulty they have the space and the confidence to talk to you, clearing their doubts, mentoring them about how to write mock exams or how to clear the papers. One aspect is that they should be strong in their foundation. Another aspect is that you have to propel them about passing the exam. So both of them are very different and it depends on what your inclination is.
I can relate to the private part because every batch, whenever they go for an exam, it's a test for me as well.
Yes.
I'm equally anxious that are the students passing or not.
If
can
I may
relate with
ask,
that.
what led you to teaching? Because I know that you're brilliant at what you do. So,
Oh.
what led you to teach?
Okay, so the tables have turned. See, I was a very at the initial part of my career, I was a very ambitious guy that I want to be CEO or run my own venture capital, invest into multiple companies, be an investment banker or something like that. But as I went up the ladder, I started as an analyst, BA, then became a consultant, and I was making good enough money during my time at KPMG. I was also freelancing. So
Right.
package was just a part of it. I was making good amount of money, and I felt that I should be happy, but I'm not. So then I started venturing into, okay, beyond money, is there something that I can work for?
Yes.
So I tried multiple things. I tried working in marketing as well. I tried content creation as well. Content creation is something I love, but comes down to what content I can create, what good I'm at. Turns out finance. I've bread and butter from the beginning of my career has been finance. And pursuing certification after certification, it takes you to a level where, okay, now you want to share it ahead. You want to maybe enjoy teaching or building more, success stories, not just your own thing. So that was my initial push, but something that I just loved, not a very conscious thought, okay, I want to be a teacher, now I'll be a teacher, nothing like that.
It just became organic.
Yes. Now, before we close, I need one advice for someone who has, let's say, completed ACCA and they are starting their journey now. What would be your advice for them?
I would first congratulate them that you're an ACCA affiliate. It takes a lot of hard work and kudos that you've reached here. First thing is that complete your PER, which is your practical experience, that is of 36 months. And ACCA has a rigorous, robust requirement of that internship period that you have to fulfill. So check out those beforehand and complete it as soon as possible so that you will get the member benefits. After that, a couple of things that I would like to advise is that first of all, don't be too picky on the first role that you pick up. A couple of things that I have observed along the way, and very frequently students reach out to me as well, is that there are a few areas that are opening up and booming which ACCAs can really contribute towards. Two examples that I can provide here is skills, especially technical skills, and sustainability. So even if you are a professional, make sure that you have your data analytical skills thorough, grasp on and do a couple of certifications of Excel, Power BI, etc., so that you can be of value addition to the company. Another interesting thing that I find is sustainability. Sustainability and environmental consciousness are the new currency of our generation. And with your global qualification, you can contribute a lot towards translating sustainability into reporting, taxation, laws, auditing, etc. There's enormous requirement and a lot of opportunities that are coming up.
Okay, so this was quite a wholesome conversation. I loved each and every bit of it, especially, first phase of getting into your career segment, having that clarity of being a teacher. Next, how you moved from CA to ACCA, what were tips and tricks to become a global ranker, and lastly, your career as a teacher, what all interesting incidents that you have, and some learning bits and pieces for aspiring teachers. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be glad to host you again.
Thank you so much, Aditya. It's been a pleasure to interact with you.
So that's it, guys. If you like the video, don't forget to press the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe for more such amazing videos. As usual, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.